Roche is Ireland's Minister for European Affairs, and he's a man with a mission: to encourage Irish voters to say yes in next month's second referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. The campaign has been very close and not without controversy. Prime Minister Brian Cowen is deeply unpopular. The No campaign says his government is using the economic crisis to persuade people to vote yes, and they say nothing has changed since the first referendum. The Yes campaign is ahead in the polls, but Roche says he won't relax until it's all over.
Minister Roche, first welcome to Euronews. Not to put too much pressure on you or on your government, but in less than 2 weeks, on the 2nd of October, the entire European Union will be watching your small country decide its future. Are you nervous?
Well, I would not be telling the truth if I said I'm not nervous. A referendum is always difficult to predict. I've been out canvassing and visiting people in their homes, and I've been in, I think, 7, 8 counties at this stage, and I have to say the feeling is better than it was last year. People are more focused on the issue. The economic downturn, of course, has meant that people are more focused on the economic realities, that Ireland, a small island that depends to an extraordinary degree on exports and on foreign direct investment, that we have to be part of the mainstream in Europe. We don't have the opportunity to park ourselves in some sort of Eurosceptic zone. And I think the concessions, the guarantees which have been given, they're prudent, they're well focused, and they meet the concerns that were mentioned in last year's referendum campaign.
These were guarantees that were not guaranteed in the first referendum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important to say, because I mean the issue, when we did, after the last referendum, we did a very detailed analysis to find out what was it that made the Irish people, who are very positive about Europe, we're amongst the most positive of the 27 member states. Why did people who are very positive about Europe vote no to Lisbon? But when you start to look at specific issues, one of the things that was startling was 80% of the people, whether they voted yes or no or didn't vote at all, felt that a position within the Commission was critically important. Not because they felt that the Commission represented Ireland, but they felt that it's important for a small country to have a place at the Commission table. And so that was one of the first positive steps.
A side that's not so positive is the popularity. The popularity right now of Taoiseach Brian Cowen is at an all-time
Oh yes, this is
low.
True.
And aren't you worried that this referendum could turn into a protest vote against him and his government?
You're right. The opinion polls are very, very bad for our party at the moment. They're at the lowest in our history. We've a long history. But I think that the people are differentiating. We were canvassing in my hometown last night, the town I live in, Bray. And it was very interesting. People were saying, well, we're not very happy with some of the things you're doing as a government, but we're voting yes. So people are making that decision, and they know full well that in the fullness of time there'll be a general election, and that's the time to reflect on whether a government has done well or whether somebody else is going to do better. And this is not the occasion.
One attack from the No camp has been that your government has allowed the European Commission to move in, to take over, and to enforce another referendum.
But this is completely untrue. I mean, it's utterly untrue. I know that people say that, you pick a big lie and tell it often enough and people believe it, but that doesn't make a lie the truth. But there is no question but that the attitude which is adopted by the heads of state and government and by the institutions of the European Union has been incredibly respectful. And there has been an acceptance that the people of Ireland have spoken, that in the matter of our constitution, they are the only sovereign authority, because our constitution can only be amended by the people. They're the sovereign authority, and they must be listened to.
When you talk about, yes, the people are sovereign, and this is a democracy, but once again, the critics have said, well, last year's vote was a no, and a no vote is no. And they said that now you're asking the Irish people to vote on the same
I like
treaty.
to tell a story. I like to tell a story. I've been very fortunate to be married to the same woman for over 30 years. I had to ask her several times to marry me before she decided that she would marry me. And I'm very, very pleased that I persisted. Now, There is a different package available. The context is different on this occasion. It's a different package in that we do have a commissioner going forward if we vote yes. On the issue of abortion, taxation and neutrality, those three issues were continuously, they were in all the posters, they were in all the ads, they were in all of the negative campaigning last time. They've been dealt with. So we're now going back to the people with the same treaty. That is true. But it's the same treaty in a different context. And of course the major change is that there is going to be a commissioner per member state.
If you vote no, yes, then there is no guarantee.
Well, if we vote no, the situation is quite simple. The existing treaty provisions are those in the Treaty of Nice. And the Treaty of Nice provides that in the event of the member states reaching the number we've now reached, that you will have a smaller number of commissioners than you have member states. That's the law. We've ratified that treaty, and so have all of our partner member states. And the Irish people voted on that treaty, and it is ratified. So that's the legal position. And no amount of clever talking would suggest that that is anything other than the legal position. Europe will be plunged into a very difficult set of decisions if Ireland were to vote no. One thing is certain, that if we were to vote no, we would have we would be in a position where we all lose.
Your foreign minister has insisted that the government will not resign on the 2nd of October if the referendum fails. It seems almost that it's sort of a strange way to campaign for a yes vote, in a sense, saying, well, if you vote yes, then there's a chance we may resign.
No, but that's not the case. He was answering a very specific question. And the very specific question was a question that has nothing to do with the referendum. If the referendum vote is no, will you resign? Well, that, of course, then would, if you actually were to answer positively to that, well, then, in fact, it makes the issue, it turns the referendum into a general election. That is not what we're about. We're about a referendum that will make a decision on the Lisbon Treaty, full stop. President de Gaulle got it about right many years ago when he said the problems with a referendum is you get answers to different questions than the questions you ask. We want to make certain that that doesn't happen. Because, as the posters out there say from one of the big business groups in Ireland, that Ireland's recovery starts with a yes vote. And that's so true. Our recovery starts with a yes vote. And so does Europe's recovery. I mean, this is very important. It's not just about Ireland. It's about the other 26 member states and the 490-odd million people across the whole of Europe. Because it's in everybody's interest that Europe become a more democratic space. It's in everybody's interest that we have a more efficient institutional structure. And it is in everybody's interest that we have a more effective say in the world. You know, those are the three things that the Lisbon Treaty will produce: more democracy, more efficiency, and more effectiveness. And, you know, who opposes any of that?